buried by winter, bound by loyalty. Snow fell with the kind of determination that erased intentions. It smothered the Montana mountains, softened edges, swallowed roads, and pressed silence into every hollow. Winter had learned how to hide things well. Beneath its immaculate surface, it concealed a man who was never meant to be found. Logan Pierce lay half encased in ice and packed snow, breath shallow, every exhale scraping against the duct tape stretched brutally across his mouth. His hands were bound behind him with plastic restraints pulled tight enough to bite into bone. Cold wrapped him like a second skin, creeping inward, methodical and patient. Logan counted seconds the way soldiers do when survival becomes arithmetic. Steady, emotionless, necessary. Panic tried to rise. Discipline crushed it. Panic wasted heat. Panic killed. He was 33, built tall and broad, the kind of frame that looked earned rather than gifted. His shoulders were squared even now, by instinct, as if posture alone could resist death. His face, roughened by wind and years of service, bore an old fracture in his nose, reset slightly off-center. Dark stubble scraped numb skin. He did not struggle wildly. Winter punished excess. To his right, close enough that he could feel the faint vibration of breath through ice, lay Ranger. The German Shepherd was 4 years old, black and tan. His thick coat frosted white along the muzzle. Scars marked his shoulder, old work, old loyalty. His amber eyes were wide but steady, ears rigid despite pain. A rope cut cruelly into his chest, pinning his hind legs beneath snow meant to finish what men had started. Blood darkened the white beneath him. Still, he listened, not for help but for danger. Ranger was not a pet. He was a partner, trained in silence, conditioned for precision, bonded through shared fear and shared victories. Logan had always said Ranger understood more than most people. Ranger had never contradicted him. Logan tested the restraints with a slow roll of his shoulders. Pain flared sharp and welcome. Pain meant awareness. Pain meant time. Memories surfaced in fragments. A service road at dusk, a municipal truck too clean for winter, a voice that sounded helpful. Logan remembered the exact moment his instincts had whispered caution, and the moment he had chosen politeness instead. One mistake was all it ever took. Ranger let out a brief, involuntary whimper, then stilled, ashamed of the sound. Logan turned his head as far as the tape allowed and pressed his forehead against the dog's. The gesture was clumsy, absurd, deeply human. In the frozen stillness, it felt like prayer. Their breaths synced, inhale, exhale. Logan counted with Ranger's lungs, building time inside his head. He needed friction, leverage. He needed the dog. Then came the sound. An engine, distant but unmistakable, coughed and went silent. Logan's pulse slowed. Someone was close enough to hear movement. Ranger's ears snapped forward. His body went rigid beneath the snow. Logan understood immediately. The hunter had returned to check the grave. Logan angled his body, grinding his cheek against the ice, scraping the tape across frozen crust.
Skin Tore.
Blood filled his mouth, copper and heat against the cold. Ranger shifted inch by inch, careful not to betray them, drawing closer until Logan could reach the knot in the rope with his teeth. The movement was awkward, slow, almost ridiculous. But it worked. The knot loosened. Ranger froze, then pulled gently, freeing one hind leg. Snow collapsed inward. Logan used the shift to roll hard, wrenching his arms until the plastic restraints snapped with a sharp crack that sounded impossibly loud and impossibly holy. He tore the tape away and dragged air into his lungs, the burn exquisite and terrible. "Easy," he whispered, not to Ranger, but to himself. Headlights swept through the trees, pale arcs cutting the clearing. Logan shoved his jacket against Ranger's wound and motioned toward the forest. Ranger hesitated, torn between pain and devotion, then obeyed. They vanished into the timber just as a man stepped into the open. Evan Cross stood where the snow was disturbed. Late 30s, lean, precise, beard trimmed with office-friendly care. A reflective vest caught the light. In his hands rested a tranquilizer rifle, carried with the casual familiarity of a lunchbox. He frowned at the ground. Winter had been asked to keep a secret. Winter had failed. Logan moved because motion was survival. Ranger followed because loyalty was instinct. Snow continued to fall, quiet, persistent, already working to erase their tracks, their names, their near death. The forest closed around them, branches sighing under fresh powder. Silence settled again, deliberate this time, as if the land itself were deciding what it would allow to endure. Shelter, truth, and the cost of survival. The forest did not welcome them, but it hid them well enough. Logan Pierce moved downhill first, choosing terrain by instinct rather than sight. Each step was measured, placed where roots broke outlines and snow fell softer. His wrists burned where the restraints had bitten deep, skin torn and swelling beneath the cold. His jaw clenched to keep his body from shaking. Shivering wasted energy. He had learned long ago that discipline could outlast pain. Ranger stayed tight to his left side. The German shepherd's black and tan coat was darkened by melting snow and blood. His shoulder wound bled sluggishly, thick and slow in the cold, and every few strides his gait faltered. Pride kept him moving. Training kept him quiet. Loyalty kept him close. Behind them, an engine coughed again, closer this time. A door slammed. Logan did not look back. He didn't need to. He knew the type of man hunting them. Careful, patient, confident that Winter would finish his work. Men like that did not rush. They waited. Logan angled east, deeper into the pines, breaking the line of sight. His breathing synced again with Ranger's uneven rhythm, counting steps instead of seconds now. The night felt alive with teeth, cold gnawing at exposed skin and testing the fragile places inside a man where resolve pretended to be endless. Logan's posture stayed tall despite exhaustion. Years of command had taught him that confidence, even when borrowed, could become armor. They found the culvert by accident or grace, an old drainage tunnel half buried under a drift, its mouth rimmed with ice. Logan dropped to his knees and cleared snow with stiff, efficient movements. Ranger crawled inside first, a low warning rumble vibrating in his chest before he settled and made room. Inside, the air was stale and mercifully still. Logan stripped off his jacket, tore fabric from the lining, and pressed it against Ranger's shoulder. His fingers worked automatically, tying the knot clean and firm despite the tremor in his hands. Ranger watched him with an expression that bordered on apology. "You didn't choose this," Logan murmured. "We adapt." He had said those words before, to teammates, to himself, to mirrors after missions that went wrong. Saying them now steadied him. Footsteps crunched nearby. Light sliced across the snow outside, paused, then slid away. Logan held his breath until his ribs protested. Ranger's ears flicked, then flattened. When the beam vanished, Logan counted to 60 before moving again. Fear arrived late, like a guest who knew better than to stay. Logan acknowledged it, then dismissed it. Fear, he had learned, could be trained to behave. They moved more slowly after that, doubling back once to confuse tracks. Ranger led where he could, nose low, body sure even as pain gnawed. Near a bend in the service road, a warm glow spilled across the snow. A gas station. The pumps sagged with age, metal hunched like tired soldiers. Smoke lifted from a short chimney. Light promised warmth and risk. Logan hesitated. Attention could be a weapon as sharp as any blade. The door opened before he decided. Diane Harper stood framed in yellow light, tall and spare, silver hair refusing to behave. Her face was weathered the honest way, eyes sharp but kind. She took in Logan's bloodied hands, Ranger's limp, their exhaustion, and did not flinch. "You're freezing," she said. Not a question. She ushered them inside, locked the door with a decisive click, and turned up the heater. Diane moved with purpose, wasting nothing. Towels, water, a first aid kit older than Logan. Ranger drank carefully, then leaned against Logan's leg, anchoring himself. "Working dog," Diane said, her gaze resting on Ranger with respect. Logan nodded. "My husband ran plows up here," she added quietly. Winter doesn't forgive mistakes. She cleaned Ranger's wound with practiced gentleness, bandaging it tight and clean. As warmth seeped back into Logan's body, clarity returned to his mind. The truck, the permits, the access. Someone had expected Snow to erase a man. "I need a phone," Logan said, choosing honesty over cover. Diane slid an old satellite handset across the counter without comment. Outside, an engine idled, then moved on. Ranger lifted his head, listening, then relaxed again. Trust settled between them, unspoken, solid. By morning, the light was thin and pale, the kind of winter brightness that pretended kindness while stealing warmth all the same. Logan sat at a metal table behind the station, hands wrapped around a chipped mug of burnt coffee. His face looked older in the fluorescent glare, not from age, but from nights spent listening for danger. Ranger lay near the heater on a folded blanket, breathing slow and steady. His amber eyes tracked every sound, but softened whenever Logan moved. Diane said little. Silence Logan recognized, shaped by loss. When the phone buzzed, Logan answered on the first vibration. "Pierce," he said. The voice on the other end was calm, familiar. Matt Reynolds, former Marine, now logistics for Gallatin County. A man who knew when not to interrupt. When Logan finished the short version, Matt didn't hesitate. "Stay where you are. Sheriff's on the way." An hour later, Sheriff Caleb Foster stepped through the door, snow clinging to his boots. Tall, lean, early 40s, authority worn like it fit just right. His eyes were lake blue and patient. "You cheat Winter?" Foster asked. Logan nodded once. Behind him came Deputy Emily Knox, compact, sharp, movements quick and deliberate. Her gaze flicked to Ranger with admiration before returning to the room. "Tracks are messy," she said. Someone doubled back. "Professional," Logan replied. "And patient." Outside, the snow told its story to those who understood its grammar. Foster crouched near a shallow depression, breath fogging. "He expected the storm to erase you," Foster said quietly. Ranger stiffened as a vehicle passed too slowly on the road. Emily noticed. "Dog still working?" "He never stopped," Logan answered. Diane stood apart, arms folded, eyes on the tree-line. Foster followed her gaze. "We'll keep this quiet," he said. "Good," Diane replied. "Winter listens." When Foster turned back to Logan, his tone shifted. Less lawman, more ally. "Someone with access tried to make you disappear. That means paperwork." Logan felt the weight settle. Not anger, but resolve. "Then we start there." Ranger stepped closer, shoulder brushing Logan's knee. A promise made without words. Paper, justice, and quiet miracles. By late afternoon, the storm loosened its grip, snow thinning into something almost gentle. Bozeman wore a forgiving face beneath the white, though Logan Pierce knew better than to trust appearances. He rode in the back of the sheriff's truck, shoulders squared despite the ache settling deep as adrenaline drained away. Years of service had trained him to push forward. Surviving the night had taught him restraint. Ranger lay at his feet, bandage clean and snug, amber eyes open and alert. Each time Logan shifted, the dog's tail gave a single, steady thump. Confirmation, comfort, presence. The county annex smelled of copier toner and wet wool. Naomi Carter met them inside, her handshake firm, her attention precise. Early 40s, athletic without display, brown hair pulled into a practical knot. A faint scar traced her collarbone, half hidden by a tailored jacket. Her eyes lingered not on Logan's injuries, but on the details around him. The pauses, the margins, the spaces where truth hid. "You don't bury a man with snow," she said evenly. "You bury him with forms." In a windowless office, paperwork spread like a second storm. Naomi worked calmly, pulling permits, cross-referencing routes, marking anomalies with a worn yellow pen. Sheriff Foster stood back, arms folded. Deputy Emily Knox hovered near the door, alert. Ranger lifted his head at distant sounds, then settled again. Logan answered questions with precision. The truck, the markings too clean for Winter. the beard trimmed like an office worker's, not a plow driver's. Naomi found the seam, a subcontractor authorization tucked neatly beneath routine maintenance. Mileage that didn't match routes. Fuel invoices swollen on days when storms never came. Shell access, Naomi said softly. Hidden in plain sight. She slid a grainy traffic image across the desk. The logo matched the scrap Foster's team had recovered. Logan understood then. This wasn't a single man checking a grave. It was a system trusting Winter to stay loyal. They returned to the service road as dusk folded in. Naomi knelt near tire impressions half-filled with fresh powder. He came back, she said, to see if Winter finished the job. Ranger's body stiffened, a low warning hum rising in his chest. A truck idled beyond the bend, lights off. It rolled forward just enough for Logan to recognize the shape. Municipal, freshly painted, then reversed. Emily keyed her radio, voice calm. We have eyes. Naomi photographed the retreat. Logan did not chase. For the first time, patience felt stronger than pursuit. Back at the annex, pressure built quietly. Records were frozen. Calls were made. Timelines tightened. Logan paced once before Ranger pressed his head against Logan's thigh, grounding him. Naomi noticed, something in her expression softening briefly. We don't rush, she said. We let truth close the door. Night passed without ceremony. Morning arrived the same way. The warehouse near the old rail spur looked ordinary in daylight. Corrugated steel, scarred doors, forgettable lines. Evan Cross emerged carrying a folder, beard neat, vest clean, confidence built on procedure. It dissolved when Naomi read the charges aloud. Fraud, impersonation, attempted homicide. He did not resist. Inside, the truth assembled itself patiently. Permits, radios tuned to county channels, tranquilizer darts boxed like office supplies. Logan gave his statement without embellishment. He didn't need to add weight to facts already heavy. Ranger lay near the door, eyes half-lidded, the deep contentment of a job finished settling into his bones. By noon, Bozeman breathed again. Diane Harper reopened her station, the bell chiming like punctuation. Logan stood with her at the counter, coffee hot and earned. You'll stay, she offered, not asking. For a bit, Logan replied. I think we've earned ordinary. In the days that followed, snow melted into narrow streams along sidewalks. Ranger healed under careful hands. Naomi confirmed the case would hold. Paper, she reminded them, did not forget. On Logan's last morning, he stood by the river with Ranger, watching dark water shoulder ice aside. Something loosened in his chest. He had not been saved by violence or luck alone, but by attention, by loyalty, by people who chose to act quietly when fear would have been easier. Ranger nudged his knee, ready. Logan smiled, unguarded. Let's go. They walked on, Winter behind them, names intact. Proof that miracles do not always arrive loudly. Sometimes they come on 4 paws, through steady hands, and through the courage to choose goodness when no one is watching.